Aloha. Welcome to the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. I'm your host, Jason Schwartz. We're up to show number 120 something, I think 127 or 8. And I have a guest that is not here this week. And so instead of just rushing and doing an interview with someone else, I thought to enroll your time in hearing about what I'm doing. When you say enroll the time, what does that mean? That means I want your attention, because last week I did an interview with Andrew Herold, who makes the insides for an engine, a passive engine, if you will, that is inside a machine that makes HHO, Hydrogen. Another way of putting that is take water, electrocuting it, if you will, and out the other end comes water with a different configuration. Instead of H2O, it's HHO. And what's so amazing about this is the world has known that hydrogen, which is number one on the periodic charts of elements, but it is also the smallest of all the different chemical formulas. And as a +1, as a hydrogen, it will want to attract and find something to resolve it. It has to resolve from a plus to a negative, a neutral, which means it needs to pick up another chemical and become a compound. But it does it very selectively. So hydrogen is an amazing tool that comes from nature. In fact, hydrogen is number one in our universe as far as elements, which is amazing. People don't think about it much, but 99% of our universe is hydrogen. So the fact that hydrogen can get into a cell and get into the mitochondria of the cell and can get to that subatomic level, I guess at an atomic level, it has an amazing track record, if you will, of healing. Now that's a big word, healing. Healing, you can't say healing unless it's doing that, right? Well, I'm using the word healing. It's healing people that have all kinds of diseases that many in the world thought were not reversible, not stoppable. But we live in a new world where we're finding that things are preventable, stoppable, reversible. And in this case, the hydrogen is what's working. This configuration of HHO, many times in the past, we've heard it called Brown's gas. It's been called oxyhydrogen. It's an amazing thing because it can go into a situation, everything is chemical at a biological level. It all relates to how things react to each other, both in our bloodstream and wherever things are reacting, they're reacting to different chemicals. And we're made up of different chemicals. So this is a major thing that we're talking about here. Something that can add hydrogen into our system in a configuration that can anti-inflame. So imagine, for example, like me, I had an automobile accident. And when I did, I compressed my right leg and my right hip is inflamed way back down there. And the doctor, conventional Western doctor, wants to give me a shot of cortisone. Cortisone injected into the bone. Not only does cortisone continue to destroy the area, it stops the pain, but only temporarily. And then they want to give you another shot, and it lasts a little less time, and a little less time. Many people find they get replacements, hip replacement and joint replacements because of this, I want to say, callous use of a system. They know as they're giving you the shot that all they're doing is slowing something down. And many would say create or help create a situation where you're going to need replacement of a joint. So this is a big thing. And that's just one example. Another example is this COVID-19. Remember, COVID-19 is SARS, which is acute respiratory syndrome. At the core of this issue is not being able to breathe, with the alveoli, the little sacs in your lungs, get filled up with fluid and are reacting, trying to fight this virus and get it out of the system. Well, HHO, by breathing it, it's available in the lungs and anti-inflames the alveoli of the lungs, which means you can breathe easier. People that are on ventilators, they're worried about not having the ability to breathe. That's the alveoli in the lungs having swollen with fluid. Well, if something can get that fluid out and be able to clear that out and be able to take a charge, it's this HHO gas. Now, there were studies done. I mean, in March of 2020, I watched a segment of the European Respiration Society where they had different guests of doctors from around the world. But the most noted speaker was Dr. Zhang, Z-H-O-N-G, from China. And they were already at 1,000-person study. Amazing, right? March 2020, remember. They were reporting to the European Respiration Society. There were people using this machine in the hospitals, and after a couple of days of use, they were able to breathe more and more easily, and their difficult COVID symptoms were being reduced and eliminated. No magic here, it's anti-inflammatory. Take and remove the water from the system by putting HHO gas into the body and into the lungs. Fantastic. There are people that have had cancer that have seen it retard and reverse. There are people that have had Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's and diabetes. I can go on and on. If you go to the website, MauiArtsAndMusic.org, MauiArtsAndMusic.org, which is our home website. If you look under environment, you'll see a whole page dedicated to HHO hydrogen. When you go there, you'll see a link to many, many research studies done by doctors all over the United States and the world about the power and effects of hydrogen. You'll also see an explanation by a gentleman named Tyler LeBaron. You look at him, you think he's in his 30s. He's older, but he's in extremely good shape. He is bringing us the Molecular Hydrogen Foundation. He has gone to Japan and studied at Nagoya University there. And the real crux of this matter is that other countries know about this technology. And here in the United States, we haven't been using it. Remember, this is before there was a COVID. This was already going on in the world. And here in the States, although it hasn't really been frequently seen or talked about, alternative, if you will, complementary medicine should go hand in hand with Western medicine. Imagine if you were able to use HHO, breathing it, to reduce the inflammation so you wouldn't have to take cortisone for pain. Well, I'm just going to begin a process like that, in fact, exactly like that, using an HHO machine that I got from a guest from last week, Andrew Herold. I bought a machine and I have it here. Haven't used it much, but now after my automobile accident, I'm going to get it up and running. And I'm also going to make it available to practitioners that may want to try it and use it, whether it be to get a machine to put to their office, but more than anything, if someone has a need for the machine because the hospitals are overrun and people need to avoid hospitals or be able to breathe, this kind of machine is extremely important and valuable in every home, where all of us should be using it for all kinds of things. But when it comes to being able to breathe, and exactly from this kind of a problem, there is a solution using this machine to help you breathe easier. So that's why I'm talking about it today so much. You know, normally I have guests, instead of being in the studio, doing it by Zoom. I have guests coming up. One guest, her name is Janet Lesson. Some of you know the name Lesson. I had Alex Lesson, Sasha Lesson, name, who was on as a guest a while back. He was a very interesting doctor of anthropology and a student of not only ancient civilizations here, but also talks about things as they relate to the heavens. Well, his wife, Janet Lesson, is by herself, quite an interesting person. So we're going to have her. We had to reschedule this week for next week. And also we're going to have Kathy Collins. Some of you know Kathy. If you're here on Maui and you hear a voice that's like that, that's Kathy Collins. She's been in the radio business, gosh, as long as I'm here on Maui. And that means she's as old as me, probably, or right in that age vicinity. She owned a radio station here. Maybe she still does, but it's a public radio station. Everyone here familiar with Kathy. Kathy Collins used to be married to Barry Shannon, and they had a radio station that we all have known to grow and love. The 91.7, I think it is. But, you know, so funny. Here on Maui, I'm just trying to think of it's Mana'o Radio. Mana'o Radio for many years. In fact, I was in their space in Wailuku after they left at the corner of Market and Main in Wailuku. I was there, I guess about 9.5 years after they were there. They built out their booth for the radio station right there. And when I took it over, used it for different things, really a wonderful location. And anyway, Kathy will be on our show for an interview. So Janet Lesson, Kathy Collins, Shan Hodges, Shay Chan Hodges. Way back in 1993 at the opening of the Cultural Center, I guess, you know, we were all, many of us, young and around. She was a really nice lady. Now she's been married for many years to Ian Hodges. Ian Hodges' brother, Mark, and I were friendly competitors running for mayor in 1994. Mark was a Democrat, I was Green, but he was really running against the giant machine. I was going to say those were the good old days. Those were the old days. A lot of the things that we were talking about and we had hoped to implement to help Maui County be self-sustainable and, quote, to look over the horizon about housing, to look over the horizon about planning about our environment. There are many things. So some of them have been implemented, but many of them haven't. And it's just a matter of the world waking up to good ideas that many of us have had for years. Anyway, she's another guest. She's, I think, the chair of the Water Commission now here in Maui. I knew her way back when. We're going to get up to speed with her on that and other things about environmental investments. And we have all kinds of people we're going to visit again, too, like Michael Smith. Michael Smith is the creator of the Earth Power Lodge, which was featured as the Green Powerhouse, which is an earlier incarnation of taking green waste and through a process called pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is where you burn something, but no oxygen is included. So as the temperature goes up, you're able to take off different phytochemicals, chemicals from plants, and very valuable in many different ways in our society. Taking it from the waste, taking all the stuff that's left and having what they call biochar, which is carbon and can be held in the soil and reintroduced for better growing, along with some of those phytochemicals, and create an even more robust growing program on Maui, both for small gardens and for large. Well, that Earth Power Lodge, we're looking to put 1 or 2 or 3 here on Maui. So we want to talk about that because we can do a lot with something like that. Imagine a business that creates a profit, taking the waste and reusing it, not only creates a profit, but creates a self-sustainable island where we will be able to grow anything we need, whether it's material to grow or whether it's to create more power or water from our waste. Wow, amazing. And other things too. Anyway, so we're going to do that later in the show. I'm going to set up and show you the machine. In fact, you see the machine right behind me? Over my shoulder. Here it is. That box is pretty famous in that when things come out of China and that's an outside canister for pressurizing to be able to have it come out as a pressured gas. It's odorless and colorless. So comes out, put it through a couple of bottles to further purify it. You add a little, I think it's sodium hydroxide, a certain amount, into the water to be able to make it more, to be able to heighten the electric effect on the water. And then at the other end, you filter it out. Very easy process. And that is an amazing tool. Well, I'm going to be using one of those machines and be breathing it and be drinking it. You put it into water. And I'm also going to look for some kind of container, probably ask a doctor for encapsulation so you can put it into a bag. So if you had dry skin, by example, you put your leg or your foot in the bag, have it there for 15 minutes, half hour. It's not toxic. You can't overdose on it. Anyway, and I've seen people's skin change in just one session. They're amazed. It's like super hydration because it goes in and it heals all the things that aren't complete. It's like really a completer. What a wonderful, wonderful tool. Anyway, you'll be hearing more about that in the following weeks and a little bit later in this show. Hi, we're back. While I was gone, there was a call from Andrew Herold. And so I thought to change the direction of the show that we're going to do. I'm going to get on here and continue a conversation I had with Andrew about the HHO machine and some of his amazing things that have happened with some of his clients. Let's listen.
I was just telling you about my neighbor. She had half of one lung was cancerous, and she had a big band across it. She had so much cancer, the lung collapsed on her 4 times.
Wow.
And that's almost a death right there because you can't breathe. And so she did vitamin C intravenous and it turns into hydrogen peroxide in your blood veins and stuff. And as soon as that touches cancer, it kills it. I mean, it just kills it. Crazy. She did that. She did the hydrogen, and she did the broccoli sprouts, and she did hemohim, and she did a whole bunch of stuff. And and it's like 5 or 6 months later now, and they just did another thing to check it out. She has nothing in her lungs now, and some other place is totally gone, but some place she still has it, but it's reduced.
So it's hydrogen, broccoli sprouts. What was that other one you just said?
She was doing vitamin C intravenously.
Huh.
The homeopathic doctors use that because what it's supposed to do is if you have pain from your cancer stuff, the pain goes away almost right away.
Really?
And turns into hydrogen peroxide in your bloodstream, and wherever your blood goes to feed cancer, it just kills it. I mean, it just kills it right off.
Well, that's interesting. Wow. That's good to hear. So, what's real interesting is that the people around you are, I want to say, trying alternatives. Around here, I keep hearing people that go for things like chemo. And we know that chemo is basically a route toward killing you. So I don't really understand.
Well, it tries to kill, the whole deal is supposed to kill more cancer than it kills you.
Right, but it ends up killing you.
Yeah. So, my brother had multiple myeloma cancer, and they can't give it chemo because that kind of cancer is whole body.
Because it's metastasized already, yeah.
Well, no, because it's your killer T cells are cancerous. So wherever they go, they just spread cancer. So you're top to bottom, everything's full of cancer.
I thought T cells were supposed to help you. They can get cancerous, huh?
Except when they turn cancerous.
Wow.
That's that one cancer. Nobody ever survived more than 2 years of that one.
That's the one your brother has?
He's now at 2.5.
Is he still feeling sick all the time?
Nope.
Wow.
Matter of fact, see, the broccoli sprouts as sulfuric, it's 50 times stronger than broccoli. So he was doing broccoli sprouts and doing the hydrogen. The hydrogen does its own killing, plus it also takes the broccoli sprouts and makes it stronger, more effective type thing. And so when he was going every 6 weeks, and then the doctor said the cancer doubled. Basically doubled every 6 weeks. Very aggressive type.
Wow.
And so what he would do is I finally convinced him. I mean, it took me like 4 times. I'd yell and holler at him. Just tell him in a different way about how his IQ was very low, and he was so stupid. I wasn't going to his funeral. And finally he gave up and said, okay, I'll do it after that. I mean, he would say things like, well, I volunteer over at the dry cleaners, and I do it free because they're poor, just to help them out. And so I'm too busy going over there helping them out to do this stuff, to do the hydrogen, do the broccoli stuff. I said, yeah, you're so dumb that you just go do all this other stuff till you're dead, then you can't do it at all.
God.
Well, I guess you got a point. I said, yeah, why don't you fix yourself, and you can do all this here for many, many more years.
Wow.
I mean...
Well, he's lucky to have a brother like you and a machine like this. That's great. This doctor, when I showed him the thing...
He did that stuff.
Yeah.
In 6 weeks, went to the doctor. Doctor said, well, you have cancer, but it won't kill you. See me in the ear. In 6 weeks. Reversed it.
Well, there's little I can say. Every time you say hydrogen, I keep thinking to myself, you mean to say HHO, right? So I always correct myself. Are there any hydrogen machines around that people are using? The only one I know is the ones that go into water, right? Otherwise, they're all HHO. There's not many. There's George and yours and that other Hydrostar is you, right? So
yep. And then there's Dr. He's got Hydrocure. What the heck's his name? Doctor. He's in Brazil now.
Dr. Circus, that guy?
Yeah,
No.
Circus. Yep. There's him. And there's another guy. There's a guy out of Oregon that's doing it too. He bought out Daryl Mason's stuff.
I see.
And he's doing it, and he sells his for $500, $600, $700 or something like that, or used to be $1,000. I don't know if he's
similar to yours or no?
No, it's like the one that John's got. The insides are like John's.
In the sense of, what do you mean?
It's the same thing as John's. It's like the plastic.
Oh, I see.
The white, yeah. The key thing he's got is it's like that, except he puts a different housing around it.
I see. So they don't get anything from China. He's building it from the ground up here?
Well, everything else goes in it is from China.
Oh, it is.
Oh yeah, everything you buy is from China. Like the one that I made for John. I mean, I have the plates made in Wisconsin. I buy the plastic. The plastic's made down in North Carolina, but everything else you buy and put on it's from China. Everything.
The parts of it. They could be duplicated here if need be, but there's no need, right?
Well, it's 4 or 5 times more.
Well, at some point, America says we have to do it ourselves, or we have no more jobs and no more, we are not self-sustainable, right? Some point that'll happen, or something.
Well, yeah, but the trouble is, when they say that, there's nobody in America that makes it.
Yeah.
All those businesses shut down 20 years or 30 years ago.
Yeah, so we have to retool and everything.
The chips.
Yeah.
The chips in all of our appliances and stuff, the chips are in all, there's hundreds of chips in every truck. Every brand new like F-150 truck. Okay. Well, because of COVID-19, they shut down all of the GM and Ford and all Dodge. They shut down all the plants. So the companies that make the chips, they switched over to the domestic markets for all the appliances and stuff. And all of the computers and all of the MP3s and all the
right. So to switch
all that stuff.
So everybody's got to tool up again.
All over. So then all of a sudden, the car companies want to go back into business again, and there's no chips for them because these guys switched to make other chips.
Right.
So now they just, I think it's Ford said 400,000 trucks we're not making because we don't have chips, and so they don't have enough new trucks coming out, so nobody's buying the new trucks because they're not there. So there's no new vehicles for the car rentals, so they're renting out old ones, and now the price of the rentals for the old vehicles when you want to rent a car is now like $300 a day, and where it used to be like $89. And then there's a shortage of them, so you have to book it up 3 weeks in advance to get one. And then when you go and you have a book, when you go to pick it up, it's not there because they rented out somebody else who got there ahead of you. It's just a mess.
Well, I can tell you here on Maui, they had fields lined with vehicles when people weren't coming. And then they opened the floodgates and the thing started again. Right now at the airport, I saw 2 or 3 fields already now covered with cars because governor asked for people not to be coming as much because of what was going on with COVID. Now it's affecting the tourism industry here with all kinds of cancellations, and jobs are going away again. It's a very complicated situation. Very complicated. Yeah, I don't know.
Every year in the United States of America, before the COVID showed up, we lost 50,000 people from the flu. Every year.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, nobody died of the flu anymore, but you have 50,000 people dying of COVID-19, and everybody's going crazy.
Well, but they're over 600,000, but the question of how they identify...
The deal is that on the 600,000, nobody dies from heart attacks anymore.
All you're saying is that there are all these different underlying conditions used to be the separately identifying cause of death, and now they're just calling it COVID, like a big giant blanket. I know.
We got a lady whose mother died in a car accident. She died of COVID.
You mean they put her in the statistics for COVID? Really?
Yep, put it on her death certificate. Died of COVID.
Well, no matter what, I know that the fear that's going on now is paralyzing, and it's separating people into groups and separating into hate and vaxxers and anti-vaxxers. It's getting to be so divisive. I sure hope we can park that. I don't know how.
Everybody's scared of it. Everybody's paralyzed of it.
Yeah, I mean, here in Hawaii.
I'm here in West Virginia, and everybody I see a doctor, they're not scared of it. They're not paralyzed. They're not wearing masks.
Well, around here, it's a very small island, and we have had visitors that mostly wear masks, and local people, some wear masks, some don't. I do. I am unvaccinated, and I figure I have to be careful no matter what. So I'm happy. I'm okay with that. I know that at some point it's going to have enough people having it that it'll, quote, be diluted. But I'm usually careful anyway. I'm very curious to see, what's going to happen.
90% of the people who test COVID-19 get it through their hands.
Well, I'm sure. You think they do or don't? That they get it through touch?
It's from your hands.
What about in the air, aerosol?
I'm making sure when I go somewhere, I don't put them suckers near my face unless I get some hand sanitizer on them. I hand sanitize like crazy. When I get my pickup, I hand sanitize. I put my whole wheel covered up and stuff. I try to kill that bugger because it's very hard to get through the air unless somebody coughs a droplet on you.
Well, that's what I figured. If you stay distant, that if someone's sick and they're out, what the heck are they doing out? They shouldn't be out.
Yeah, but I'm telling you what, when people have COVID-19, them suckers go out. Because I had a friend, his name is David, and his wife wouldn't even come home anymore because she had it. She stayed at her sister's place. And he said, I was hungry. He went to the store when he was in the middle of the most deathly sick and the most deathly infectious. He went to the store and bought groceries.
Oh, boy.
I said, David, for Pete's sake. I said, I was hungry. I went to the store. I wear a mask. Yeah, but his hands were probably lying.
Well, that amazes me that's a very poor choice. I don't know what to say. Here.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that way.
Sadly.
There was people had COVID and they went and spit on people downtown and stuff.
Little can I say. It's sickening. How are you feeling and doing? Good, though, I hope.
Oh, yeah. I think I had COVID last week. I was weak for 2 days, and then I was okay. As soon as I got weak, my nose started running. First symptoms, your nose supposed to run. I was doing hydrogen all the time, but I started doing ozonated water, too. I got rid of it 2 days.
But, and you labeled it COVID. Could be anything. Who knows?
Yeah.
But the fact that you have hydrogen, I say hydrogen, the fact that you have the HHO and you have an ozonator also, so you have special tools that are, there to...
The ozonated water will take the lead, the mercury, the pesticides, and also kills viruses. And so then the hydrogen kills viruses and scavenges all foreign things in your body.
Well, when you say kills viruses, I'm only trying to be careful, because a virus.
Yeah, you can't say that on the radio, because the reason is that our government and our drug companies have stated nobody can kill viruses.
No, a virus is not alive. Is really the issue. Because it handles things chemically, and it makes sense that all you really need to do is neutralize it, hook it up with the right things, and pull it out of the system. I'd like to really better see the chemical formula. There's a lot of that stuff I don't really see anywhere. Nowhere I can kind of do my own research. Everything seems to be twisted
Just
one way
ask
or
the
the other.
computer what's the chemical formula for COVID-19 and stuff, and it'll pop up. It's there. You'll start hitting some research out of that.
That's a good thought.
You just don't know how to look for that stuff. Everything is on there, man. All of a sudden, you'll be an NIH stuff. It'll just see my computer. I do it so much that my computer automatically the search down there, it automatically starts throwing all that stuff at me.
Right, because you search for it, it knows what to look for. I
That's
understand.
all I search for is that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's when somebody starts. I said, I gotta go home and get to my big computer. That thing, it's a 2011 Mac, and that thing has been searching all that stuff in it, all those NIH and all them places.
I have left a couple of texts on Messenger for Tyler LeBaron. Have you seen him anywhere or know where he may be?
No, he's not very
Communicate.
in your face anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's been paid off or what.
Nah, I just wondering. He did a really good thing about hydrogen and COVID. It's very detailed. It's on my website.
I really like that one. See, the deal is I don't know if you know this, but Loma Linda, you know Loma Linda Hospital?
Yes.
They're in California. They did the first baboon transplanting a baby and stuff. And they got an accelerator out there, and they're all the 7-Day Best Church and all this other stuff. Anyway, they did a research on hydrogen, one of them, and published it. And then they stopped doing research, and they got a donation from a drug company for a wing on their hospital. Texas A&M did one research on hydrogen. Same thing. They stopped and they built a wing on their college. Then over in Boston, I forget the name of the one in Boston. The same thing happened over there. We only have 3 places in the United States that did research on hydrogen.
That's interesting.
If you go to Japan, there's like 10,000 in Japan.
What's the university? Nagata University? That's where Tyler went with the doctor over there. Because man, he was.
The doctor was Dr. Oha.
Oh, I see.
It's OHHO. OAHO.
Something like that. That looks like Oahu.
It was over there.
And he studied side by side hydrogen and its effects in. But now they already in Japan used something like this before. I understood that.
Yeah, they've been using it for 10 years.
But there's something called shinuru, which is an old traditional Japanese treatment. John was telling me that's very similar. I never really looked at it, but it's not a machine. It's a natural practice. Anyway, I'm going to look it up, but I'm more interested in the fact that you've been able to get this machine to help your brother. And, you use it so matter-of-factly, but like you said, you were sick and 2 days later you weren't sick. That's big. Never mind COVID, no matter what it is. That's big. That's really, really good.
My wife got a virus. She went in to see if it was COVID. The doctor she saw said, "No, that's a virus. You'll be sick for about 10 days, and it just makes sure you cough. You cough like 24 hours a day. You just cough your lungs, but you cough so hard you can't stop." She said, "But you'll get over it in about 10 days." She had that in the house, coughing all over the place, sleeping in the same bed with me. I didn't get it. As soon as she got over that one, her whole health is down. She got a bacterial infection where you get the green stuff, you cough that up. She got that for 2 weeks.
Why isn't
coughing all over the house?
Why isn't she
that one?
Why isn't she using your stuff? I don't understand that.
She started using it. She started after she got the 10 days over hacking stuff, and I said, you had this one. I didn't get it. And then now you're sick with this other one. I didn't get that one either. I said, I think you're doing something wrong. And so she breathes it now every night.
Good. Well, that's what I'm going to be doing. You put it into, like you said, you run it into a machine.
CPAP.
Yeah, a CPAP machine. But that's a.
No, I just run it through the face mask.
Oh, I see. So it's on you instead of onto the CPAP machine.
Yeah.
I see.
I just drill the 3/16 hole in the face mask, and I cut the end off and just shove it in there, and I took rubber bands and hold it along the length of my CPAP hose. And
I see. Oh.
I have to wear the thing every night because I guess I'm really, really bad. I mean, I can stop breathing. They said it was 5 minutes one time.
Wow. Well, I had a CPAP machine.
I scared everybody at the sleep center. They woke me up even. They said, nope, you're going on this right away.
You mean when you did the original test on the sleep deal? Yeah.
Yep. I freaked them out. They were saying, and I mean, I guess I'm really loud and I choked and I stopped breathing for 2-3 minutes. I said, well, how could that be a big deal? Because you can hold your breath for that while people do that when they go swimming. And nobody's complaining that they're having brain cells. I says, yeah, but you do it all night long.
I was going to say, and you're not swimming, right?
Yeah. So everybody said, well, you're going to kill your brain cells and dementia. I said, well, I don't want to be dementia.
Huh. Well, that's good.
To be brain dead.
Well, but I really like the idea that you modified the face mask and added in the HHO. That's good.
Well, I have a doctor who said, is it any good on MS? I said, well, there's only one research on MS that I found, and I can't understand it. It's always their medical words, so I sent it to him. He's in Idaho. And next day he bought a machine for his wife. She has MS. I said, well, what did it say? He says it says it cures MS. I said, are you serious? He says, yeah, that's what it said. I said, I read everything of it, and it made totally sense. So I called his wife up about a month and a half, 2 months later. And I said, did it work? She says, I don't know if it did anything for MS. All I know is I used to only be out of bed for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. Now I'm out of bed the whole day until around 9 o'clock at night until I got my life back. So I'm never going to stop taking hydrogen. That's
great. I love those kind of stories because they're genuine, real situations, And whenever
you have to do this for like 5 years before you get enough good stories.
Well, but your stories are genuine stories. They're not secondhand and third hand. They're people and that's really valuable. I'm only hearing them all second and third hand, but your stories just consistently, you're helping people. It's beautiful. How are the people in your church doing? Do they still use the machines that you sold them? I don't even know if you checked it.
They called me up and said, I haven't used my machine for a few months. I need to start doing it. I got to clean it out. Got some more of this, got this here. I said, listen, if you can't clean it out yourself, pop it in the mail. You're too lazy to drive over here 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So just mail it to me, and then I'll fix it up and mail it back to you.
You're talking about cleaning it out.
Human nature. You know how human nature. They just, all of a sudden, they just don't do it anymore.
Yep. Well, that's what happened with me. Ariel had it sitting in her house. So I had to call and clean the lines, and now we're up and running again. Good.
I can't believe her daughter died, but she didn't have to die.
Well, she was really heavily advanced at what was going on. I don't know what to do. She was doing broccoli sprouts, but she was also doing chemo, and I wasn't there, so I don't know any of the detail. But
my sister, she's dead now from the vaccine and cancer and all that stuff. She's dead now. But before she died, she came to my brother's house on the way down from John Hopkins. Not John Hopkins, Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota.
Uh-huh.
And he called me up and said, hey, your sister's here. She wants to spend the night. She's on her way down to the Mayo Clinic. He said, she's been out in the driveway for an hour trying to get it from the car into the house. She can't make it.
Wow.
I said, well, give her some hydrogen when she gets in. So he's standing at the door with a glass of hydrogenated water. She gets in the house. She said, I can't drink that. My kidney and my liver stopped working 5 days ago. I went to the bathroom for 5 days.
Whoa.
So I said, here, drink it anyway. So she drank the glass of water, went to the bathroom, drank about 3 glasses of water, went to the bathroom again, stuff. She felt so good, she went shopping. And she hadn't been shopping for 2 years because she couldn't walk, couldn't get out of the house. So not only did she go shopping once, came back, drank some more hydrogen water, she went shopping twice.
Wow.
So she convinced my brother that she wanted the machine. So she paid my brother for the machine. I sent him another one the same day. She took it down to the Mayo Clinic, used it while she's down there, went home, put it in the corner, and never used it again.
No.
And she got worse and worse on her cancer. And then they gave her some chemo, and she felt really good and stuff. She felt really great. And all of a sudden, she just went downhill really quick, like she fell off a cliff. That's what chemo does to you. It helps so long, and then all of a sudden, the cancer sneaks up, but you can't tell you have it. All of a sudden, it just goes crazy. It kind of bypasses the chemo. So then she started doing that rehab, and then they gave her that shot, that stupid vaccine, and killed her off. But if she would have done the broccoli sprouts, and if she'd have done the hydrogen, she'd have been 100% cured. Broccoli sprouts just kicks butt on breast cancer.
You make it. How do you make your broccoli sprouts? You put them in one of the jars with the water and drain them, right?
Well, you get like a tablespoon of seeds, right, in a quart jar, soak them overnight, and then you have that screen on the top thing there, And next morning, you drain the water out, turn it upside down, drain the water out, then you put it up again and rinse them out, and drain it out. We set them like a 45-degree angle in your drainer for your dishes.
Right,
okay?
Right.
And then around noon, you go rinse them out again and stuff, and drain them out, and you try to make them so they stick to the side of the glass jar, so they got room, to get themselves growing. And you do that morning, noon, night. If you don't rinse them out, they turn moldy, they die. Okay, so you just do it, and in 3 days, they're already sprouted up, and I mean, you can eat like the size of a golf ball. It's the same as eating a pickup truck of broccoli.
Well, I have these little mason jars with the screen on top, but it doesn't make. They clump together. So you're saying a quart jar is better? That's a good idea with a screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
You do a quart jar. They don't clump together because you when you drain the water out, you just kind of swirl them around and let the seeds stick to the sides. When they start getting a lot of roots and stuff, yeah, they'll clump together. But it doesn't matter then.
Right.
But the broccoli, they say when the third day that they're sprouted, you can eat them right away. So they're very, very powerful. They're more powerful the third day and fourth day.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, they did research on 25 ladies and breast cancer. Now, breast cancer and prostate cancer, same cancer. You do that, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, it's just on the female and on the male.
Yeah.
Okay, so the sulforaphane in the broccoli sprouts, they put a drop in breast cancer, and they put it was a really, really small, they have it micrograms or something. They put it in a petri dish with the cancer cells, and the cancer cells immediately moved away from it. They didn't want to get near it. The next day, they were all dead.
Yeah, there's nothing but good things that you hear about broccoli sprouts.
So that they took 25 ladies who were going in for lump removal, breast removal, biopsies and all this other stuff, 25 of them. For 2 weeks before they went in, they gave them broccoli sprouts every day. They went and handed the broccoli sprouts to eat. When they had them removed, the scientists went and got all of the masses that were removed, and the tumors were already reduced in 2 weeks by 33%. They said if they'd have been doing this for another month, which would have been 6 weeks, their tumors would have disappeared. They wouldn't have had an operation. So all of the stuff was full of sulfuric, and all of them was reduced to dying.
Wow. Well,
So
those,
you know the doctors don't want them to eat sprouts because then they got no money, no operations.
well, you know, I brought that point up to the doctor when he said, well, if you use an HHO, then that's the miracle cure. You don't need us. And I said, well, we need you to help. We'll be able to lower your patient load so things are more reasonable. They're overloaded. So I would think that they would want to, but you're right.
There's something you need to be careful of, Mr. Jason. I had a guy who was doing the hydrogen, and he killed his cancer. He had a tumor in his brain, I think it was, and reduced that down to the size of a pea in like 6 weeks. Went to the doctor, bragged about doing the hydrogen. The doctor got so angry. You don't listen to me? I said, fine. Get another doctor. And he wrote on his chart. Patient won't listen. Patient does a weird thing. He wrote all this stuff on there because he was angry on his chart and put it in there. And it's on this guy's chart forever. He cannot get another doctor to see him.
Because of the comments.
They look at his records and they say, well, I don't want to talk to this guy. He won't listen.
Yep.
So,
I saw that happen to someone else.
I did that, told him, I said, I tell everybody, don't tell the doctor you're doing hydrogen because they'll throw you out the door and write it in your chart. You'll never have another doctor. And you need doctors to see them. You need the tests and you need high blood pressure, all that stuff. If you got a problem, you need a doctor.
Well, it's going to be interesting because I'm just trying to get an MRI and ultrasound. So we'll see. Because
don't tell your doctor too much and get him angry at you so he writes in your chart. You'll be screwed.
all right, well, I'm just going to use it and get healthier. That'd be good. But yeah, I hear you. Well, the one thing like I said, I appreciate the fact that I can be using the hydrogen and feeling the benefit myself. I'm looking forward to getting on it and really being conscious of what's going on. So that's good.
Well, George Wiseman, he's been breathing it every night for 3.5 hours for 4 or 5 years. And he says that he's bald. You know, you see a picture of him, he's bald. He says he grows every year 1/4 inch of hair back on his bald spot on the edges. He says that his scars are disappearing now because scars are only supposed to be a temporary patch, and then your body's supposed to dissolve and you're supposed to have regular skin. So his scars, he said, are disappearing. He said, some major scars are gone on his body. There's only skin left there. Normal skin looking. He said he had a wart on the bottom of his foot since he was like 7 years old. And he says he carves on that thing every month, 1/4 inch off and stuff. And he's tried everything on it, it won't die. He said the hydrogen killed it off on it. It's gone.
That's an interesting claim. You know,
he's probably in the United States probably been breathing that stuff or drinking that stuff the longest. Him and Daryl Mason than anybody ever has.
Daryl's still alive?
Oh yeah, I talked to him a month ago or so.
Would he be an interesting interview for the show, you think?
He would.
You might want to mention to him. Well, thank you, audience, for joining me today. Thank you for letting me play more of Andrew Herold and some of the things that are happening with his clients that are using the HHO machine. He really has some interesting stories. Thank you for joining us today. We will see you again next time on the Neutral Zone.